In this tutorial, we're going to cover how to do a granny square all in one color. Usually granny squares may be 4, 5, 6 lines depending on what you're doing. You want to make sure that all your granny squares are the same size or equivalent to the same size in order to piece them together to make a blanket. So let's start off with the slip knot. My name is Michael Selleck and I'm the creator of Mikey's Mail. I'm here with my friends at AllFreeCrochet.com who've asked me to produce a video on making a solid color granny square just like so. So let's start off. We're going to start off at the very center and we need to create the first ring to be able to rotate around. So this already counts as 1, so let's grab the material. So 2, 3, and 4. So you need a total of 4 altogether, and we're just going to now stick your hook into the very starting stitch just like so, and now pull it down like so it's a U, so that your middle finger and your thumb are kind of pinching in between the needle and where it's looping down. And the reason for that is that when we go to do the very next step, we want to know where the center of that square will be. So grabbing the material, pulling it through and through, so you're pulling it through both, and now your finger is still showing now the center point of your square. So now let's chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, and now grabbing your material, we're going to double crochet ourselves twice only into the very center. So removing your thumb back, going into the center. Now this is a straggler, we want to hide that. So in order to do that, we just lay it on top. So when we go to pull this around, it's actually going to help trap it into the very first rotation. So let's go 2 and 2. So that's a double crochet. So grabbing the material, the center, pulling it through, 2 and 2. So now we need to turn our first corner. We've already done 1. So now let's turn the corner. We always chain 2 when we turn corners. So 1 and 2. Going now back to the center area. We're just going to double crochet ourselves 3 more times right into the very center ring that you have created. Again, continuing to trap that straggler into position. So 3 times all together, and now we're ready to turn another corner. So we always chain 2, 1 and 2. So going back into the center for another 3 double crochet in a row. So it was 1. Again, trapping that straggler into position as we go. And at the end, when it's still hanging out, you're going to be able to safely trim that straggler without your work falling apart. So now we've got 3 sides done of the 4, turning another corner, 1 and 2. And now let's finish off this by doing 3 more double crochets into the center of your material, the center of the ring, sorry. So we're now back again, but we're not quite done. We're not finished. You see that there's a gap in between. So we have to chain 2, 1 and 2, and slip stitch into the second stitch that's available on this one over here. So just stick it in, pulling it through and through, and that creates your first So your round. Square is now done on the first rotation. It's now time to grow up to the next one, and every time you go to grow now, this is exactly what you're going to do. You're just going to chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Now we need to look backwards, so we need to look toward the hook, and there will be a gap, and that's your corner there. And what we're going to do is just double crochet twice. That chaining counts as 1 double crochet. So that if you're thinking that you're not putting enough double crochet, the chain counts as 1. So therefore you have a total of 3. So now we're going to jump across, but we now have to work our way across what I call the runway, and that's the gaps in between the corners. So we just chain 1, and now we go back into the next corner. So every time you hit a corner, it's the 3, 2, 3 configuration. It's 3 double crochet, just like I'm showing you right now. And then we're going to do the turn. So the turn has to be 2 chains, so 1 and 2, and then 3 double crochet in order to successfully make a 90-degree turn. So we're back now on the runway. In between the 2, we're just going to chain 1, and now we're going into the very next corner available. So every time your blanket gets, or your square gets bigger, you're just going to be a longer distance in between each of the actual corners. So this is a 3, 2, 3 configuration again. So basically for every rotation you're growing the blanket or your square in every direction. So when you think you're not getting very far, when you think the rotation might be taking you way too long, in actual fact you're growing your blanket in all 4 directions. So it actually can be a very speedy project without having to go back and forth all the time. So back on the corner again, we've done the 3, chain 2, and we've done 3 again. Okay, and now let's chain 1. And this is the final of every time that you get to the final of the turn. So you just put in your 3, you're chaining 1, and your 2 double crochets on the other side were also part of that corner. So all we're left with is chaining 2, and we just need to slip stitch. So going into the top one there, pulling it through and through. So if you can you can grow this as much as you want to. You just got to make sure if you're attaching your squares together that the squares are identical size in order to make that possible. So good luck and have fun.